Hello everyone and welcome back to SwitchUp. Now today we're going to have a look, as we always do, at some of the games that are on sale this week. But first we need to give away the free game. Here is the winner of the free game from your comment from last week. Remember, if you want to win a game, just leave your comments below. Also, if you want to save yourself a bit of buns over on your eShop credit, you can do so over at switchup.gg. You get 5% in cashback and we get a tiny little kickback from Nintendo. With all of that said, what are the best games on sale this week? Well, my name's Mark Walker. Welcome back to SwitchUp. Now, let's find out. This episode is sponsored by I Hate This Place, which is a survival horror with some crafting mechanics.
Yep, it's inspired by a comic book series of the same name. And as Mark said, it is a survival horror game with those crafting mechanics. You play as a character named Eleanor, who is looking for her best friend Lou.
It features a day-night cycle that you'll have to pay attention to because certain enemies come out at night. You have to creep and crouch and try and evade them because they're completely blind, but they can hear you, can't they?
Yeah, you need to be careful that you don't make too much noise. You need to keep yourself well fed. You have stamina bars and food bars, health bars, etc. And you also have a base where you need to make resources for yourself, things that allow you to make food or better weapons, etc. So you can then go out and advance the story and keep yourself protected against the enemies.
It has a very nice synth soundtrack. We do have a full video of this one as well. If you'd like the full overview, we'll pop a link to that in the description. But yeah, thanks to the publisher for sponsoring this video. All the prices and information are on your screen now. First up today, we've got Lil Gator game, or Lil Gator game, depending on how you want to say it. This one is actually due to have a follow-up or a spin-off DLC that's coming out soon. Hopefully we'll actually be joining or teaming up with the publisher to do a sponsored video for that one. But it really does embrace that sense of freedom you so often don't get in games these days. I think it's something that Nintendo do really well with their Mario series. It gives you that perception, at least, that you're just free to go off and do it your own way. It's not the longest game, but like I say, rebuilding that playground in the center, meeting all the different characters, and gliding your way around the world. It's just, really enjoyed this one. And that's 50% off in all regions. And that sale, it goes on until February the 10th. Next up, you've got Until Then, which was featured as a hidden gem. Well, I featured it as a hidden gem. And many of you pointed out that it had some incompatibility issues with Switch too. But then more recently, I started to see a few messages saying the game had been patched, so that's great. And it's all set within this world that is recovering from a catastrophe. But in the same breath, almost, you're dealing with those everyday life issues that a young person has to handle. But something quite unusual happens very early on. A bit of a mystery, I guess you could call it. But it's one of those, a little bit like some of the classics like Shenmue, that feature little mini-games and slices of life alongside their main cinematic storytelling. It has that pixel art style. I just love this style. I don't even know what you'd call it. It's almost like hand-drawn pixel art. And I know that's like an oxymoron. Like pixel art is inherently or mostly hand-drawn. But do you know what I mean? It has a certain cartoon quality to it that really does work. Now, Until Then at the moment is 30% off, taking it down to £12.59 or your regional equivalent until February the 12th. There is a physical of this as well that's not too expensive. So yeah, maybe check that one out if you're a physical collector. Then you've got Ecognomix, which we featured in a dedicated video actually. And it's like a hybrid roguelite city builder, where you start out with your town like at the top of this network of caves, and then you send parties down, choosing from a variety of different gnomes that you deploy. Each has their own specialities, and not only will they be gathering supplies, but they have to fight off enemies. So the strategy comes from deciding which ones to place where, gradually getting better ones, and using them to move further down into the caves to improve your resources, I guess, for then building up your village. It's quite addictive, actually. Like I say, go check out our full video if you're interested in it, but it's 54% off here in the UK, just £7.72. I haven't seen it go on sale much. I guess it's a bit of a hidden gem, really. And the sale here goes on until February the 23rd.
Find their skills for maximum efficiency and minimal cost. That's when I realized that sending gnome after gnome to their death.
Then we have our lowest ever price on the fantastic Guns of Fury. If you remember, I did a review of this. I reviewed this one on the channel, and it's basically like if you took Metal Slug and fused it with a traditional Metroidvania, except for the fact that the unlocks, you know, like the abilities that you get to move into new areas, they're like guns. So you get a shotgun that lets you blast through rock. And it does have still those big boss fights, those massive Metal Slug style moments, I guess. Destructible environments, there are alternate endings here. It's got a great, bright 16-bit art style. Really enjoyed the hybrid nature of it, I guess. And this, as I say, is the cheapest it's ever been. It's currently £8.44 at the moment. That's 35% off. And the sale for that one goes on until February the 15th. Go check out our full review if you want a bit more information about it. Yeah, love this one. Then a quick mention, because it's UK only. We've got Street Fighter 6 at the moment here in the UK and the European regions, of course, at 50% off. That's not too bad at all. I think that matches its cheapest ever until February the 26th. If you're a fighting game fan, Switch 2 has a reasonable selection. We haven't had the Switch 2 edition of Mortal Kombat 1 yet. I'm quite surprised. I am quite confident that that's going to arrive at some point. But yeah, haven't seen that one materialize, have we? This one has a bit of an unusual hybrid in that there's a semi-open world section where you can create your own character and stuff. They've been doing that with a number of different IPs, haven't they? We've seen it with like WWE where you're going around, except that was basically like a shopping center and the game's trying to make you spend real world cash. I was like, oh, come on, what a load of crap. But for sure, Street Fighter 6 is a much better version of that. You can even watch people like on the arcade machines fighting against each other. It's very cool. That's 50% off in the EU and Australian regions until February the 26th. Now, Core Keeper originally came out on the Switch 1 and it was an excellent game. Really enjoyed it. A little bit like a hybrid Terraria and Minecraft, and it has full co-op as well. Now, at the moment it's 40% off, and that is very good, and I would say as a game in its own right, brilliant. It has a completely free Switch 2 update. And at the moment, I think the Switch 2 version is the one that has the discount on. I'm pretty sure that's the case. The problem is the Switch 2 edition does have a few performance issues. Now, yes, it has improvements over the base Switch 1 release that they put out, but yeah, there's still work to be done. Now, what I would say though is that this development team are constantly working on it. It had a bunch of updates and new content on the Switch 1 when it was put out, and they've obviously not charged for the Switch 2 update, which gives you an idea of the kind of developer they are. So yeah, I'm kind of saying put your trust in them, I would say. Even though it's not perfect right now, it's going to get there. But yeah, there are performance issues at the moment. Now, I want to kind of, I should probably apologize for last week. In last week's episode, I had already recorded the fact that Dispatch was coming out, and I was like, yeah, great game, but do keep an eye out for the review. And at that stage, hadn't recorded the review yet. And as we know, Dispatch, what a palaver that was, eh? What a palaver. Now, behind the scenes, there are conversations going on, but it does look like the devs are going to do something with Dispatch. It sounds like it was them. Because there's, like, Japan have their own rules, don't they, around censorship. So it sounds like they put a single release out, like a single Japanese release, or Japanese compliant release, I should say. And that's why the rest of the regions have that issue, because Nintendo basically said, as long as you get approved by the regulating bodies in your area, we don't care. Which would make sense given the million hentai games on the eShop. So yeah, the plot thickened a little bit, didn't it? As both of them did the old Spider-Man point at each other routine. But we shall see. Core Keeper though, good game, well worth checking out. 40% off at the moment until February the 4th. Winds of Change is down 80%. That matches its lowest. It's just, it's about €3, well, €4, or your regional equivalent, until February the 19th. It does see a lot of drops, I have to say, but it's an RPG where you're leading a rebellion to bring peace back into the land. It's fully voice acted, you're trying to build relationships between your party. It kind of does the whole decisions thing, the old choose your own adventure style, make a choice, live with it, and it is a very mature tale as well. It's long as well. This isn't a short game. It will take you about 10 to 12 hours for your first playthrough, and if you want to see everything and really go back and see what your choices could have done, then yeah, you're looking at more towards the 20-hour mark. A really enjoyable experience, perhaps one that was overlooked when it first came out, but at 80% off, I mean, you can't go wrong, can you? That sale goes on until February the 19th.
Alright.
The Gap is a surreal storytelling adventure. I'm pretty sure this one comes from Crunching Koalas, and it's 75% until February the 19th at the moment. You take on the role of Joshua, who is essentially driven by the fact that there's this rare illness plaguing his family, and he's a neuroscientist, and this condition basically eats away at your memories, which in turn affects your sanity, your personality. So you play through the game through those memories, which is quite interesting, as he essentially tries to answer the question of whether or not he can trust himself if he doesn't have a full grasp on his mind and his memories. Now, anyone who has experienced dementia, or anyone who has dementia, I think both my grandparents had it, it's horrible. It's an absolutely terrible thing. So I think it's interesting when a game almost talks about that in some way, without perhaps being so on the nose as to directly base, the game on that. There have been games that have dealt with that. There's one, I can't remember the name of it, on PC. You're literally playing as someone with dementia, and there's like post-it notes on the wall, and the day keeps warping and stuff, and it was a real insight. But The Gap, a really interesting one for that price as well. £4.49 or your regional equivalent, that's 75% off, all the way until February the 19th.
Really sorry it even happens.
And that's exactly what I'm trying to say. We can't predict anything that happens anymore.
Now, KOA and the 5 Pirates of Mara. There were a few KOA games. One was an RPG or a JRPG. It was absolute trash. There are a couple of others as well. I forget the name of the team. They're a good team. Is it like Chibig? Something like that? But I really liked KOA and the 5 Pirates. I thought they finally got their formula right. It's like a Mario-style adventure almost, where you can travel around in your little boat. You can upgrade it. There's this central hub island. You can go back and do speed runs in the different areas. I thought it was great. Like, really, really enjoyed it. I don't think my sentiment was shared by everyone, but I don't really care, to be honest. I just review the way that I review, and if I enjoy it, that's what I say. 60% off at the moment, down to £7.19 until February the 22nd. I think that's a way more appealing price. You know what? I'm looking at the Metacritic now. It has a Metacritic of 7.7 with users, which is actually very good, isn't it? So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just saw 1 or 2 very negative reviews and kind of went, well, that must be everyone. Which I think we all do to an extent sometimes, don't we? It's not the longest. It's about 4 or 5 hours long, maybe 7 or 8 hours of content if you're going to do a completionist run. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed myself. That's KOA and the 5 Pirates of Mara, 60% off until February the 22nd. In a slightly similar vein, I guess, we have Demon Turf, which can be our hidden gem of the week, but honestly, I think we've had more hidden gems in this video. It's very, very influenced by old school platformers, Mario 64, those types of games. This is more accomplished, in my opinion, than KOA, which is why this has made it to kind of, not the top spot of the video, but the gem spot. And it has that really interesting 2D style within the 3D environments. Now, I have a full review of this where I was just gushing over how good it is. And I think much of that comes down to the platforming and just how well that's handled. It's got a really cool mechanic as well where it's like, doesn't punish you, but also provides challenge, which is not an easy thing to do. It has that fully handcrafted feel to it, and almost a bit of speedrun as well if you want to push through at a faster pace. Now, this developer, is Fabraz, I think they're called. They have a new game coming out very shortly that looks great, and it looks almost like an evolution of this idea. But if you've not tried this, about 15 hours long, or 30 if you're a completionist. Very enjoyable. That's Demon Turf, 55% off until February the 10th.
What the heck is wrong with you?
But I told you I'd do it.
That then leaves us the lovely Barjans, the Savaloy Selection, the super duper cheap games that you really shouldn't buy, but man, they're cheap, aren't they? These are your Fed Cooks or your Costco hot dogs. And first up, we've got Mangavania, which is 60% off, taking it down to £1.79. And it comes from the small indie studio, Sometimes You, who often self-publish their titles. You play as Yuhiko, who's a young ninja, bouncing around the world. Not a super long experience, very short in fact, and for £1, not too bad. I do like these little, almost micro indies. It Came From the Sky, another that's ridiculously cheap. Very addictive, this one. A classic style arcade game. Just trying to rake up those highest scores and struggling to actually be able to put the game down and play something that you've invested some serious bucks into, which is no bad thing, I've got to be honest. Then you've got Beholgar, which is 70% off, down to £2.69. Really enjoyed this, very good. I think there's a physical of this as well. It has full skill evolution, new abilities. You can equip magic rings. I mean, why wouldn't you? The soundtrack was created by Andrea Baroni and it's just nostalgic gold. Great weapons, decent challenge. That's Beholgar. And last but not least, Mecharama for 89 pence. A puzzle game with these diorama style worlds where you're guiding this little cute robot called Bee through like 100 different levels. So my friends, that is it for this week. As I said at the start, and it does help us out, if you want to save yourself a bit more money, you can do so over at switchup.gg, where you get 5% in cash back on any of your purchases. Also, go check out the sponsor if you want to say, yeah, nice one, SwitchUp is a good place. And leave your comments down below so I can give away a free game. The skies are getting brighter here in the UK. It can't be long until I get out and do a bit of farm up action. But yeah, let me know what you think. Hopefully you found something to tickle your backlog. And as always, just a big thanks to all of you, to our Patreons, our members, for all things Switch, all the time. Keep it Switch up. Cheers, guys. See ya!